I was born in Bloomington, so I've lived in Bloomington my whole life. And I had two younger siblings at the time, and my parents divorced when I was 4, so I was living in 2 different houses in Bloomington and kind of going back and forth. And when I was in, I think, the 3rd grade, my mom heard about the Big Brothers Big Sisters program and thought it might be a good idea for me to get a big sister so that I'd have somebody to talk to just about like the logistics of the going back and forth and kind of how that was for me on an emotional level. And so when I was in the 4th grade, I finally got my match, and they told me they were going to come to my class and I was going to have the opportunity to meet her during, I think, recess or lunch, something like that. So I kind of like lingered back in the classroom after my classmates went to do whatever it is they were going to do, and that's when I met my big Susan. Definitely in the beginning of my relationship with Susan, a lot of the stuff that we did was at my school. So we would like work on, projects, art projects or something like that, in the library, or I'm majoring in journalism now, but even when I was younger, I was a creative writer. So I would, bounce story ideas off of her, and we would go to the computer lab and like work on my stories or whatever, and she would help me out with that, which was always really great, just to know that like an adult was really invested in the storylines and knew like everything that was going on in my stories and like wanted to be involved in that process. But as our relationship progressed throughout the years, we started, doing things outside of the school setting. We would like go out for food, or we would go do things out in the community. And I think that was when I really started feeling like I could open up to Susan about, things that were going on in my life, or, things that I needed emotional support on. And I felt like she was a constant, she and my family were the constants throughout, my childhood. No matter what phase of my life I was in, no matter what my interests were or how I was changing, Susan was always there. So Susan and I were officially matched for 2 years, and I think stopped being officially matched when I left elementary school and went to middle school, which was sad because I enjoyed the time that I spent with her during school hours, and that was something that was really important to me. But that was by no means the end of our relationship. We continued to see each other for years until Susan moved away from Bloomington, and even now we still keep in touch. So, I mean, the closeness of our relationship and the nature of our relationship didn't change at all after the match was officially ended. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made was letting, Susan's move away kind of take me away from that relationship with her. And that's why I recommend that any little who's still in the program does not let that happen. Because, and I mean, she was off doing her thing, and I'm going through high school and graduating high school and, trying to get into college. And I remember she said to me when we were reunited that she was sorry, that she wasn't there for my graduation or anything. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding? You were there for everything in the beginning, like I am so grateful to have my family. But the people who are sitting inside a divorce situation, they can never see it clearly. And Susan saw it and me and where I was in that in a way that my parents couldn't have, no matter how much they love me or how good they are to me. And if I hadn't had her to tell me that I was doing well despite that and outside of that, I mean, I don't know that I would have made it to where I did. At least not as the person that I am now. And so, yeah, whether she was at my graduation or there for me in high school or not, Susan helped make all of that possible. And so, yeah, to any little out there, don't let that go. Your relationship with your big doesn't have to end with this graduation. And I would highly recommend that you do everything that you can to keep in touch, because that's a relationship that you can have throughout the rest of your life. And it will be no less valuable to you in, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years than it is right now. Never think that you get too old, to be a part of the program, to be close to your big. And, continue to value that and make sure that they know that you value that throughout your life.